Hi everyone, it's LaShonda from Labors of Love with another Therapy Thursday video. So today I would like to talk about treating our children. The weather is nice. We are moving into summertime, and I know my family is spending more time outdoors in public areas like public parks and public pools and just out in general. And so I've had a few weeks to observe around me interactions between adults and children. And so today I just kind of want to talk about how do we treat our children. So one thing I want to ask is compliance always the goal? I've seen, and I want to specify here that within the confines of safety, obviously we know that as adults, we are by and large responsible for the safety of children. And me having two toddlers right now, they have no real sense of danger or safety, and if left up to their own devices would die multiple times a day because they don't realize that doing certain things can lead to injury and death. And so, we are in hashtag Operation Keep Them Alive, so I understand that. But when I think about and observe how often adults, usually for the sake of their own comfort, are saying mean things to children in tones that are very harsh and responding to them in ways that can be demeaning simply for them to comply. I want to, offer at least the invitation to think about the importance of spontaneity and exploration in the development of children. And if every time a child is attempting to explore or be spontaneous, just because it gets on our nerves or it reduces our comfort, is that worth stifling their creativity and exploration just so that we can be comfortable? Another thing that I would like to highlight is the use of shame and humiliation in disciplining children. One, shame blocks our dopamine receptors. We need dopamine in order to learn. So essentially, if you're trying to teach a child a lesson and you're using shame in order to do that, you are blocking neurochemically or neurobiologically the thing they need in order to learn from the experience that they're having. So when we are trying to tell a child the things they should or should not do, and we're using statements like "you ought to know better," "shame on you," "you ought to be ashamed of yourself," and "you're too old for that," those are shaming statements that block dopamine receptors and inhibit that child from being able to learn the lesson that you are trying to teach. Also, humiliation has been found to be one of the most prominent adverse childhood experiences. By using shame and humiliation in order to get a child to learn a lesson, we're actually doing the opposite. And just because you see immediate compliance doesn't mean they're learning the lesson, but it means that we have put them into freeze or faint, which is part of our fear cascade. Finally, the thing I want to talk about when we talk about treating children is, are we raising the kind of children, or even if you're not raising a child yourself, whether it's a neighborhood child, a niece, a nephew, or godchild, are we helping develop children that when they became adults, we would want to befriend, date, or employ? And what I mean by that is sometimes we say, "Don't ask me why." We don't allow children to ask why. We don't allow them to question our authority. And we say, "You do as I say." Well, then they go older and they become employed and they have a supervisor or a manager that is having power over them. And sometimes we say things like, "You need to learn how to stand up for yourself." Where did they learn it? Are we creating the necessary learning environments for our children today that will allow them to develop the skill and muscle that they'll need to execute in the future? So as the weather is warmer, children are out of school oftentimes with less structure, and they have a tendency to be more spontaneous and exploratory. It's my invitation that we would consider how we are speaking to our children. Because if we're speaking to our children in a way, with a tone, and with actions that we would not be okay with their future significant other or future boss doing, then we may want to reconsider how we're engaging with them. If parenting is something that you're struggling with and your children's actions are kind of causing frustration, anger, and confusion for you, Labors of Love would love to walk alongside you on that discovery and journey. Please visit us at www.thelaborsoflove.com. And until next week, be well.